I want you to imagine a scenario.
Yeah.
It's really cinematic, high stakes. Picture yourself as the captain of this massive, state-of-the-art ocean liner.
Okay, I'm with you.
You're standing there on the bridge, wind whipping past, and you are gripping the wheel with just absolute authority. You look out at the horizon, you check your compass, and you make a firm, conscious decision. We are heading north.
Crystal clear intention.
Exactly. You turn the wheel, you shout the orders down to the crew, you have all the intention, all the logic, and all the willpower in the world to go north.
It's a powerful image. You're in control.
You think you're in control, but here's the problem. The ship slowly, inexorably keeps turning south.
Oh.
You wrestle with the wheel until your knuckles are white. You're screaming at the crew. But the vessel it isn't responding. It's drifting into the ice, completely ignoring your input.
That is the stuff of nightmares. But it is also, unfortunately, the perfect analogy for the human condition.
It feels like it, doesn't it? I think every single person listening right now has been that captain at some point. It's New Year's Day. You set the goal, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and run 5 miles every single morning.
Classic.
Or, I'm going to stop procrastinating on that big, scary project. I'm going to be confident and relaxed when I walk onto a stage. You consciously want it. You are not lying to yourself. You have the desire.
And you have the logic. You know why you should do it.
Right. But then the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. and it's dark. And it's cold. Or that email notification pops up and your heart starts racing before you even read it. It feels like there is a ghost in the machine that overrides your direct commands.
That's it.
You want to go north, but the ship goes south.
Precisely. And what we are going to unpack today is that the ghost isn't actually a ghost. It isn't paranormal, and it's not a character flaw. It's mechanical. It's the autopilot.
The autopilot.
See, the you standing on the bridge, that conscious mind, the part of you that uses logic, that sets goals, the part that's listening to our voices right now, that is only controlling about 5% of the ship.
5%? That is a terrifyingly low number for a captain.
It is roughly 5%. The other 95%. That's the hull, the massive engines below deck, the rudder, the fuel lines, the currents beneath the surface. That is the subconscious mind.
And that's where the real power is.
It is. And here is the brutal truth. If that 95% is programmed to go south, it doesn't matter how much your 5% screams north. The 95% is heavier. It has more mass. It has more momentum. It will win every single time.
And that brings us to the 95% problem we're tackling today. This is the deep dive into rewiring the autopilot. And we have pulled together a massive stack of research for this one. We're talking clinical psychology, neuro-linguistic programming, studies on sleep states, brainwave frequencies.
Even some concepts from, ancient wisdom traditions. It's a really diverse stack, but they all point to the same thing.
They do. And the mission for this deep dive is to figure out how to leave the bridge, go down into the engine room, and actually change the course of the ship. We want to move beyond the theory.
That's what excites me about this specific collection of sources.
Yeah.
We aren't just going to sit here and philosophize about why the subconscious is powerful. We know it is. We are going to look at these specific mechanical tools to reprogram it.
The toolkit.
The toolkit, exactly. We were talking about a toolkit that ranges from using your language in your body to utilizing the specific brain states you enter right before you fall asleep.
It's basically a user manual for the brain that nobody ever gave us when we were born.
I wish they had.
Me too. But before we start pressing buttons and pulling levers, we have to understand the layout of the machinery. Why is it so hard to change? I mean, I can learn a new fact like the capital of a country in 10 seconds. Why can't I learn a new habit or a new belief just as fast?
Because the subconscious isn't designed to change easily. It's actually designed for efficiency and survival. Think about it. You don't want to have to consciously relearn how to walk or how to open a door every single morning.
Right, or how to chew your food.
You don't want to have to relearn any of that. The subconscious automates these things to save energy. It operates on maps or blueprints.
So it's an energy conservation strategy. The brain's lazy.
Exactly. The brain consumes a massive amount of glucose. Thinking is expensive. So once a pattern is established, the subconscious locks it in to save fuel. And here's the kicker. These maps were mostly formed by the time you were 6 or 7 years old.
7 years old. So if I'm struggling with public speaking at age 40, or if I have this crushing anxiety about money, it might be because of a map drawn by a terrified 6-year-old.
In many, many cases, yes.
Yeah.
What they call the imprint period is generally considered to be from birth to age 7. During that time, your brain is in a lower frequency state, theta, which is basically a hypnotic state.
You're like a sponge.
You are a sponge. You accept everything as absolute truth. So if, at age 6, you were scolded in front of the class, and your subconscious wrote a line of code that says, being seen is dangerous, or speaking up gets you humiliated, that code runs in the background forever, unless you rewrite it.
And the problem is, as we get older, we develop these gatekeepers that protect that code. You can't just walk in and change it.
Right, we developed security systems.
Okay, let's meet these gatekeepers. If I want to get new sailing orders to the engine room, who is standing in my way?
The first major gatekeeper is something called the Reticular Activating System, or the RAS.
The RAS. This sounds like a component of a spaceship.
It functions a bit like a radar system. Physically, it's a bundle of nerves at our brainstem. Its job is to filter the massive amount of data coming at you every second.
How much data are we talking about?
Millions of bits. I mean, the temperature of the air, the hum of the fridge, the sensation of your clothes on your skin,
Yeah.
the visual clutter in your peripheral vision.
You can't process everything. You go crazy.
You would. So the RAS decides what gets through to your conscious awareness.
It's the bouncer of the club.
It is the bouncer. And like any good bouncer, it has a VIP list. And that list is determined by your beliefs and your focus.
So it's not objective.
Not at all. If you believe I am unsuccessful, the RAS acts as a filter to prove you right. It will literally filter out opportunities for success and highlight every failure, every rejection, every little mistake.
So let's make this concrete. If I walk into a party thinking, nobody likes me, the RAS is going to zoom in on the one person who isn't smiling at me.
Exactly. It will magnify that one frown. It'll make it the most important piece of data in the room, and it will completely ignore or just filter out the 5 people who are smiling at you. You won't even register them.
Wow.
You will leave that party thinking, see?
Yeah.
I knew it. Everyone hated me. You are experiencing a curated reality that reinforces your existing map.
That is wild. It's confirmation bias on a neurological level.
Spot on. This is why 2 people can walk into the same meeting and have 2 completely different experiences. Their RAS filters are set to different frequencies. One sees opportunity, the other sees threat.
So part of reprogramming is changing the instructions you give to this bouncer.
That's a huge part of it.
Okay, so that's the bouncer, but
Yeah.
there's another barrier, right? One that's a bit more stubborn.
Yes.
That's
This is often called the critical factor. It's the barrier between the conscious and the subconscious. Think of it as the firewall on your computer.
the firewall. Okay.
Its entire job is to reject new information that doesn't match the existing programming.
Give me an example of the critical factor in action.
Okay, let's say you stand in front of the mirror and say, I am a millionaire. But your subconscious program, your internal map, says, I am broke and bad with money.
Which is the reality for most people trying that affirmation.
Right. The critical factor looks at your new statement, I am a millionaire, compares it to the old file, sees they don't match, and rejects the new statement immediately. It might even make you feel ridiculous, like a fraud, just for saying it.
That's that little voice that goes, yeah, right, who are you kidding?
That is the critical factor at work.
Yeah.
It's protecting the status quo. So all the techniques we are going to discuss today, whether it's NLP, tapping, or sleep work, they're all essentially different ways to bypass or trick or soothe that critical factor so we can slip the new data into the subconscious.
We are hacking the firewall.
We're hacking the firewall.
I love it. Okay, let's open the toolkit. The first section of our deep dive focuses on the language of the brain, and we're talking about Neuro-Linguistic Programming, NLP. This is a term that gets thrown around a lot in self-help circles, sometimes with a bit of a mystical vibe.
It can, yeah.
But when you look at the source material, it's actually quite structural, isn't it?
It is. NLP, which was developed back in the 1970s, essentially used the brain's activity as software. The whole premise is that we can recode the way we think. It's less interested in why you have a problem, digging up 20 years of trauma, and more interested in how you structure the problem in your mind right now.
Right. It focuses on the structure of the thought. So let's talk about one of the classic NLP techniques mentioned in our sources, the swish pattern. This sounds like a basketball move.
It does, but it's actually a very visual, very cinematic technique. The swift pattern is designed to break the chain of a bad habit or a negative automatic response. It works by swapping the mental image that triggers the bad behavior with a new image of who you want to be.
Okay, let's unpack this. Walk us through a switch pattern. If I'm a listener who, let's say, has a habit of doom scrolling on my phone the second I feel bored,
Right.
how do I use the swish?
Okay, perfect example. Step one is identifying the trigger image. You have to find the specific image you see just before the behavior starts. The cue. Exactly. So in your doom scrolling example, maybe it's the sight of your hand reaching for the phone or the specific glow of the screen lighting up. And here's the crucial detail. You must see this image associated.
Associated, so that means looking through my own eyes.
Correct. First-person perspective. You are in the bad habit. You make that image big and bright and vivid in your mind. That's the cue your brain uses to start the whole bad behavior pattern.
Got it. What's next?
Now, step two is creating the outcome image. This is the new you. The version of you who doesn't doom scroll, who maybe picks up a book or takes a deep breath or just sits with the boredom for a second.
The ideal self.
The ideal self.
Yeah.
But, and this is vital, this image must be dissociated.
So I'm looking at myself like I'm seeing myself in a movie.
Exactly. You see the ideal you looking happy, relaxed, free from the phone. You make that image big, bright, colorful, attractive. You want your brain to want to go there.
Okay, so now I have two pictures. The trigger, which is first person and negative, and the outcome, which is third person and positive.
Exactly. Now comes the swish.
The magic moment.
The magic moment. You start with the trigger image, the hand reaching for the phone big and bright in front of you. Then in the bottom corner of that picture, you place a small, dark thumbnail of the outcome image.
Okay, so it's there, but it's small.
It's there, ready to go. Then you literally go whoosh or swish in your mind. You explode the outcome image so it becomes huge and bright, covering everything, while simultaneously shrinking the trigger image down to a tiny gray dot or sending it flying far away into the distance.
So I'm visually pushing the bad habit away and pulling the new identity forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
And speed is the key. The brain learns through tempo. You don't do this slowly and thoughtfully. You go trigger swish outcome. Boom.
Fast.
Super fast. Then you clear the screen in your mind, go back to blank, and you do it again. Trigger swish outcome. You repeat this 5, 10 times, faster and faster each time.
It sounds almost too simple. How does flashing pictures in my head actually stop me from picking up the phone?
You are messing with the neurological wiring. The brain works on prediction. It sees the phone, the trigger, and it predicts the dopamine hit of scrolling. By inserting this swish, you are creating a new neural pathway. You're short-circuiting the old one.
Oh, I see.
You're training the brain so that as soon as it sees the trigger, it automatically fires the outcome image instead. You're rewiring the cue. Eventually, you reach for the phone, and your brain automatically flashes the image of the ideal you who doesn't need it, and the urge it dissipates.
That's fascinating. It's like rewriting a hyperlink. Click this, go there instead of here.
That's a perfect way to describe it, and that's just one visual tool. NLP also offers somatic or body-based tools. One of the most famous is anchoring.
Anchoring. Okay, now, the sources mention this is based on Pavlovian conditioning. Pavlov's dogs, right? Ring the bell, dog salivates.
That's the one. But instead of salivating, we're talking about triggering complex emotional states on command.
And we all have these already, right? Accidental anchors.
We do. Maybe you hear a certain song and instantly feel sad about an ex-partner. Or the smell of cookies makes you feel safe like you're at your grandma's house. That song, that smell, those are anchors. NLP just says, let's create intentional anchors for positive states.
Okay, so how do I build a confidence button? If I have a big meeting or a presentation, how do I install that feeling?
The protocol is quite specific. First, you have to elicit the state. You can't just think about confidence vaguely. That won't work.
Not just the word confidence.
No.
Yeah.
You have to close your eyes and vividly recall a specific time you felt totally unstoppable. Maybe it was nailing a presentation or winning a game or solving a really hard problem. You have to go back there and relive it.
So you turn up the sensory details.
You turn them all the way up, make the colors brighter in your mind, the sounds louder, feel the feeling rising in your chest and your body. You have to amplify it until it's a 10 out of 10.
Okay, I'm really feeling it. I'm in the moment. Now what?
Now, you have to catch the wave. As the feeling is rising and just before it peaks at its absolute most intense point, you apply a unique physical stimulus. This is the anchor.
And it has to be unique.
Yeah, something you don't do all the time. Could be squeezing your left earlobe or pressing your thumb and forefinger together in a specific way. You hold that touch while the emotion is at its absolute peak.
And then?
As the emotion starts to naturally fade, you release the touch. This is important. You want the neurological connection to be between the peak intensity and that specific touch. not the fading away part.
That makes sense.
You repeat this a few times. You can even stack anchors. Recall a different memory of confidence, build it up to a 10, and fire the same physical anchor.
So I'm loading up this button with multiple files of confidence.
You're making it stronger and more reliable. And then the test. Later, when you're in a neutral state, or maybe feeling a bit nervous before that meeting, you just fire the anchor.
I press my thumb and forefinger together.
You do. And if you've done it right, your nervous system should recognize the signal and flood your body with that stored chemical state of confidence. The feeling comes back on command.
It's like a save state in a video game. You save the feeling good part and reload it when the boss battle starts.
That's a perfect way to put it, and it highlights something really important. We are not at the mercy of our emotional states. We can actually engineer them.
That transitions us perfectly into the next section of our toolkit. We've talked about using the mind to change the mind. Now let's talk about using the body to change the mind. Because sometimes you just can't think your way out of a problem, can you?
You really can. This is where we get into somatic modalities. And you're right, sometimes talk therapy or just thinking about a problem keeps us stuck in the prefrontal cortex, that 5% again. We're analyzing the trauma, we're understanding the fear, but we still feel it. The body keeps the score.
So we're just spinning our wheels up in the conscious mind.
Exactly. To rewire the deep stuff, we need to speak directly to the emotional centers of the brain, the limbic system, and the body is the interface for that.
And one of the most popular tools for this in our research is EFT, or emotional freedom techniques, often just called tapping. Now, I'll be honest, when I first saw people doing this, tapping on their faces while mumbling, it looked a little out there.
It does look strange.
Yeah.
I get it. A lot of people have that reaction. But the data behind this is surprisingly robust.
Tell me about the data.
There was a clinical study mentioned in our sources showing that a single hour of EFT tapping reduced cortisol levels, the main stress hormone, by 43%.
43%.
And
1 hour.
yes, and that is significantly higher than what they saw in the groups doing traditional talk therapy or just resting.
Okay, 43% is massive. That gets my attention. So what is actually happening when we tap? What's the mechanism?
It's a combination of ancient acupressure and modern psychology. You're tapping on specific meridian points. These are endpoints of energy channels used in acupuncture for thousands of years, while you simultaneously focus on a stressor. Okay. Biologically, here's the theory. When you think about a fear, let's say I'm terrified of this deadline, your amygdala, which is the brain's smoke detector, it goes off. It screams danger and pumps your body full of cortisol and adrenaline.
The fight or flight response.
The classic fight or flight.
Mhm.
But then you start tapping on these points, tapping on these specific points on the face, and body sends a calming, soothing signal directly to the amygdala. It basically says, the body is safe, we are calm, there is no tiger.
So you have a conflict. The mind is thinking danger, deadline, but the body is sending a signal of safety, we're just tapping here.
Exactly, and that creates what neuroscientists call a prediction error. The brain expects a threat response, but it doesn't get one. This discrepancy forces the brain to reconsolidate the memory. It essentially untags the emotional charge from the thought.
So you're severing the link.
You're severing the link between the thought and the stress response. You still think about the deadline, but the panic, the physical charge is gone.
Okay, let's give the listener the quick how-to on this. What does a basic tapping session look like?
It usually starts with a setup statement. You tap on the side of your hand, what they call the karate chop point, and you acknowledge the problem while accepting yourself. This part is important. You say something like, even though I have this anxiety about the deadline, I deeply and completely accept myself.
So you're not fighting the feeling.
You're not. You're acknowledging it. Then you tap through the sequence of points. The start of the eyebrow, the side of the eye, under the nose, the chin, the collarbone, under the arm, and finally the top of the head. About 5-7 taps per point.
And I'm tapping these points while thinking about the stress and maybe saying a reminder phrase.
Yes, exactly. You stay focused on the feeling. You don't try to push it away. You just feel the anxiety. And as you tap each point, you might say a short phrase like, this deadline anxiety. You move through the points, and usually, after a few rounds, people report that the intensity of the emotion just drops. It goes from an 8 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10.
It's like draining the battery on the anxiety. Now, the sources also discuss another somatic tool called PSYCH-K. How is this different from tapping? It sounds similar.
It's in the same family of mind-body tools, but the mechanism is different. PSYCH-K is fascinating because it focuses heavily on creating whole brain states. It was developed by a guy named Rob Williams. While EFT uses tapping to soothe the amygdala, PSYCH-K uses body postures to increase communication between the left and right hemispheres of the brain.
Left and right brain, the logical and the creative.
Exactly. And it starts with a tool called muscle testing.
Muscle testing, that's where you hold out your arm and someone pushes down on it. I've seen that before.
Yes, it's a form of applied kinesiology. The idea is to use the body as a binary communication device, like a keyboard for the subconscious. You make a statement of belief out loud, like, I love myself. If your subconscious mind agrees with that statement, your body's electrical system stays strong and congruent, and your arm stays locked. If your subconscious disagrees, if there's an internal conflict, the signal weakens for a split second, and your arm drops, no matter how hard you try to hold it up.
So it's a lie detector test for your own beliefs.
In a way, yes. It completely bypasses what you think you believe and shows you what your program, that 95%, actually is. It's often shocking for people. They'll say, I am worthy of success, and their arm just goes weak.
So once you find a belief that tests weak, what do?
You then use a process called a balance to fix it. And the core balance often involves a whole brain posture. You cross your ankles and cross your wrists in a specific way and rest them on your chest. This cross-lateral position physically forces the two hemispheres of the brain to communicate across the corpus callosum.
It's physically crossing the midline of the body to force the brain to sync up.
Correct. When the brain is in this synchronized whole brain state, resistance to change is minimized. It creates this window of super learning. You hold that posture for a few minutes while you silently repeat the new belief. The claim is that you can install a new belief directly into the subconscious in minutes, rather than months of affirmations.
And there was an interesting note in the source material about a permission protocol in PSYCH-K that seems important.
Yes, this is a crucial safety check. Before you change a belief, you use muscle testing to ask the subconscious, is it safe and appropriate to make this change? And is there any hidden reason not to?
Why would you do that? Because
sometimes a limiting belief is actually protecting you in some way. If you have a belief that fire is dangerous, you don't want to remove that. PSYCH-K respects the ecology of the mind, that there might be a hidden benefit to the problem.
That is a crucial distinction. We aren't just deleting files at random, we're making sure the whole system remains stable and safe. Okay, we've covered the waking mind with NLP and the body with tapping and PSYCH-K. Now let's go to the place where we spend a third of our lives. The twilight states. Sleep.
This is my favorite section. Because biologically, we have a natural back door into the subconscious that opens twice a day, every single day. No effort required.
We're talking about hypnagogia and hypnopompia.
Fancy words for very simple states. Hypnopompia is that transitional state as you fall asleep. You're not quite awake, not quite asleep. And hypnopompia is that similar state as you're waking up.
The drowsy state.
The drowsy state. And in these windows, your brain waves shift. You move from beta, which is awake, alert, analytical, down into alpha and theta.
Theta, that's the brainwave state of deep hypnosis and meditation, right?
Yeah.
In early childhood.
It is. In theta, the conscious mind, that critical 5% with the bouncer, the firewall recedes. It goes off duty.
Yeah.
But the subconscious is wide open. It's highly suggestible. Whatever you are focusing on as you drift off in that state, the subconscious accepts as fact.
So if I fall asleep worrying about my bills, playing out worst-case scenarios in my head,
you are essentially instructing your subconscious to manifest more financial stress. You are marinating your brain in cortisol and fear for 8 hours. You're programming yourself for more of what you don't want.
That is not ideal. So how do we flip this? This brings us to the SATS technique mentioned in the outline, state akin to sleep. And this comes from a teacher named Neville Goddard.
Neville Goddard was a mystic and lecturer in the mid-20th century. But his techniques align perfectly with what we now know about neuroscience and memory consolidation. He was way ahead of his time.
And his core concept for SATS is living in the end.
Living in the end. Instead of thinking of the goal, which implies you don't have it, like, I hope I get that promotion, you create a memory of the future where the goal has already happened. You feel it is done.
Walk us through the steps. I'm lying in bed, lights are out, I'm getting drowsy. What do I do?
First, you induce that drowsiness. You want to be right on the edge of sleep. Then you select a very short scene, just 5 to 10 seconds long, that implies your goal is finished.
So not the whole movie of me getting the promotion.
No, that's too complex. You want something that implies it's already a done deal. For example, if you want a promotion, the scene isn't you working hard. The scene is your colleague shaking your hand and saying congratulations on the promotion. Or it's you looking at your new business card.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. And here is the golden rule, the most important part. It must be in the first person. You are not watching a movie of yourself shaking hands from across the room. You are seeing the colleague's face from your own perspective, feeling their hand in yours, hearing their voice through your own ears. You have to be in the scene.
Okay, first person. Got it. Then what?
You then loop this scene. You play it over and over and over again. Handshake, congratulations, feel the relief. Handshake, congratulations, feel the relief.
Why the looping?
The repetition does two things. It prevents your mind from wandering off into other thoughts, and it begins to wear a groove in your neural pathways. As you loop it, you focus on the sensory details and, most importantly, the feeling of reality. You want to saturate your mind with the feeling that it is done.
The feeling is the prayer, as they say.
The feeling is the key. Eventually, you fall asleep in the scene. The idea is that your subconscious then spends the next 8 hours processing this memory. It doesn't know it was imagined. It accepts it as a fact of your reality and begins to organize your thoughts, your perceptions, and your actions to match this new identity. It's like planting a seed right before the rain starts. You let the subconscious water it all night.
That's a beautiful metaphor, and neuroscience supports this. The hippocampus is hard at work consolidating memories during sleep. By creating this artificial memory right at the onset of sleep, you are prioritizing it for consolidation. You are literally rewriting your self-image while you snooze.
I love that. Productive napping. Now we have one final section. We've looked inward at the mind, the body, the sleep state. Let's look outward. Section 5 is about our environment and the shadow, because we don't exist in a vacuum.
Right, we have to talk about the shadow. This is a concept from Carl Jung, and in our context, it explains why we self-sabotage.
The ghost in the machine again. It is. Sometimes you can do all the tapping and affirmations you want, but if your shadow, the hidden, rejected, or disowned parts of yourself, has a competing intention, you will fail.
This goes back to the disharmony mentioned in the shadow work source.
Exactly. Let's say you consciously want to find a partner. That's your 5% goal. But unconsciously, your shadow holds the belief that relationships mean losing my freedom, maybe from seeing your parents fight.
Okay, a hidden belief.
So you will unconsciously sabotage every date, every connection, to protect your freedom. Shadow work involves asking the difficult questions. What am I getting out of not having this goal? What is this problem protecting me from?
The secondary gain.
The secondary gain. You have to uncover the hidden benefit of the problem. Once you expose it to the light of consciousness, the shadow loses its power, and you can begin to align your conscious and unconscious intentions so they're both rowing in the same direction.
It's making the unconscious conscious. And speaking of unconscious influence, let's talk about subliminal programming. The source material references a specific study about face occupation pairs. Can you break that down?
This study was fascinating because it showed the longevity of subliminal messaging. Participants were shown faces on a screen, and right before the face appeared, an occupation like docker or janitor was flashed so quickly they couldn't consciously see it.
Subliminal.
Totally subliminal. Then, almost half an hour later, they were shown the same faces and asked to judge the income of those people.
Yeah.
The participants consistently rated the faces that had been subliminally paired with high-paying jobs as earning more money, and vice versa. They had no idea why. They just felt that this person looked more successful.
They thought it was their intuition, but it was actually a program running in the background.
Precisely. This proves that the brain encodes relational information without any conscious awareness. And this leads us to the idea of environmental biohacking. If your brain is constantly absorbing data you aren't aware of, you need to curate your environment.
It's not just what you actively focus on.
No, it's everything. Tony Robbins has a great line for this. Proximity is power. If you are surrounded by people who are negative and cynical, or if you just leave the news running in the background with stories of disaster and fear, your subconscious is recording all of that.
It's passively programming you to be anxious or cynical.
Yes. So the hack is to curate what you passively absorb. Use binaural beats to induce alpha states while you work. Put up visuals that imply your goals are already achieved. And be ruthless about who you spend time with. Your subconscious is essentially averaging the standards of the 5 people you're around most. You want to make sure that average pulls you up, not down.
It's cleaning up the input stream. Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground here. We've basically taken the brain apart and put it back together. Let's do a recap. We promised the listener a menu of reprogramming techniques. Let's run through the list one more time so they can, take a screenshot in their mind.
Right. Let's do a rapid fire. Here is your toolkit for rewiring the autopilot.
The visual swish. This is an NLP tool for breaking habits. You visualize the trigger image in first person and you swish it rapidly with the positive outcome image in third person. Speed and repetition are key.
Got it. Number 2.
Number 2, anchoring. Another NLP tool for emotional control. You recall a peak state, like total confidence, and you anchor it with a unique physical touch, like squeezing a knuckle, so you can fire it off later when you need it.
The confidence button. Okay, what's 3?
Number 3, EFT tapping. This is for de-stressing and releasing trauma. You tap on meridian points while focusing on the negative emotion. This creates that prediction error that deactivates the amygdala and lowers cortisol.
All right, number 4.
Number 4, PSYCH-K. This is for rapid belief change. You use muscle testing to find limiting beliefs, and then you use whole brain postures like crossing your arms and ankles to synchronize the brain hemispheres and install new beliefs in minutes.
Powerful stuff. Number 5.
Number 5, SS, state akin to sleep. This is for identity shifting. As you fall asleep, you loop a short first-person scene that implies your wish is already fulfilled. You marinate your subconscious in that feeling all night.
Love that one. 2 more.
Number 6, shadow work. This is for resolving self-sabotage. You investigate the hidden benefit of your problems to align your conscious and unconscious intentions. You make friends with the parts you've disowned.
And finally, number 7.
Number 7, environmental biohacking. This is for passive programming. You consciously curate your inputs, the music you listen to, the news you consume, the people you're around, because your subconscious is always recording.
That is a powerhouse list.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it covers everything from a quick visual trick to a deep dive into your own shadow. So if I start doing these things, if I start swishing my bad habits and doing sets before bed, what is the end game? Is it just about getting the car or the job?
Well, sure, achieving goals is the tangible result. That's great.
Yeah.
But the real end game is something deeper. It's what athletes and artists call flow.
Flows.
Yeah. When you are constantly fighting your subconscious, life is a struggle. It's friction. You're the captain fighting the wheel. But when you reprogram the 95% to align with the 5%, the friction disappears.
The ship just goes where you want it to.
The autopilot starts taking you exactly where you consciously want to go.
Right.
You don't need willpower to go to the gym or work on your project because it becomes your natural state. The goal isn't just success, it's inevitability.
Inevitability. I like that. But I have to play devil's advocate for a second. Can I just do this once? Can I do one swish pattern and be fixed forever?
I wish. I really wish it worked that way, but think of it like physical hygiene. You wouldn't brush your teeth once and expect them to be clean for the rest of your life, would you? This is mental hygiene.
A daily practice.
It's a daily practice. Your old programming took years, maybe decades to establish. The I'm not a morning person map was drawn over thousands of mornings. So while these techniques are remarkably fast compared to traditional methods, they still require consistency. You have to show up for your mind every day. You have to tend the garden. If you stop weeding, the weeds will come back.
So consistency is the secret sauce. It's a practice, not a pill.
Exactly. It is a way of living. It's deciding to be the active programmer of your reality rather than the passive user of a buggy, outdated operating system.
Well, on that note, we have reached the end of our deep dive. But before we go, we always like to leave you with a little something to chew on. A final thought to keep the gears turning.
We talked a lot about SATS and imagining the future. And we know from neuroscience that when you vividly imagine something, the same neural networks light up as if you were actually experiencing it. To the brain, a vivid imagination is reality.
Can't tell the difference.
It can't. So here's the question. If the subconscious mind stores these memories of the future just as vividly as it stores memories of the past, are you living out a history that you have already written? Or are you actively writing the script for tomorrow right now? Because if you aren't writing it, your past is writing it for you.
Oof, that is a heavy one. Are you living a memory of the future? I'm going to be thinking about that one tonight. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Go rewire that autopilot.
See you next time.